everybody, and welcome to this edition of Discussing Digital. Today, I'm discussing digital marketing with Richard Dale. Richard, would you like to introduce yourself and then tell us a bit more about what your business is, and then we'll get on to the digital marketing part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here, Rob. I'm Richard and I'm from Complete Coaching, and I'm a holistic health and nutrition and fitness coach. And I help busy people, business owners, busy professionals to optimize their health so that they can perform better in work and in life. And that's my primary business. And then also I have a secondary business where I help other personal trainers with digital marketing, help them get off the gym floor, have some more freedom and move their business online.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a really interesting conversation. Let's talk a bit about your digital marketing first, and then we'll talk more about how those coaches move to an online world, which again we've chatting before we started recording. Some really interesting stuff you're doing there. So to start off with, we had a bit of an interesting discussion literally just before we started talking about websites. So I think that's quite an interesting place to start, because you've got a really interesting philosophy around websites and how businesses should start. So do you want to start kind of just explain a bit about that?
Yeah, let's get into it. And yeah, it started with you asking me about my website and realizing that I don't have an active website. And I think a lot of people, when they're starting out in business, can get stuck and attracted to the shiny objects, create the best looking logo, have the best company name, build your website out. Personally, I think that can keep people stuck. They can feel like they're making progress with that project, but the reality is it's not getting them any clients and unique clients in the door. And we don't have an active website, and we do all of our marketing through social media and just funnel our clients into conversations there. So I think a website is a great addition, but you don't necessarily need it to get started.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. And also, sort of not only do you not need it, but we talked about the fact that sometimes people get hung up on a website's got to be perfect, it's got to be complete, everything's got to be there, all the I's have got to be dotted and the T's got to be crossed before they'll even put it live or publish it. But as a sort of my background's project management, I think it's an agile project. You can start, here's the homepage, and even the homepage doesn't have to be perfect. You can modify it.
Yeah, and lots of people will want to try and build the best website ever with multiple features and multiple pages, but you really don't want your prospect coming to your website and getting lost. You want super basic, gives them the information that they need, and then funnels them into some way to contact you so that you can then continue that conversation.
Yeah, I think that's really a really sensible approach to take. Yeah, keep it simple. And as we said, we I think it's Facebook's philosophy used to be done is better than perfect. And again, I think we're both on the same page on that one. So no, that's good.
Yeah.
You mentioned social media, so let's switch over to that. Do you want to just kind of explain? Because one of the things I think is interesting about what we talked about before we started recording was the fact that you have different content strategies for different platforms.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a bit about which platforms you've got and a bit more about your content strategy? Because I think that's really interesting for people.
Yeah. So I use Instagram, Facebook, and I use LinkedIn. And I've got slightly different audiences on those platforms. So hence why I tailor my content slightly differently. Now, I don't try and make two sets of content. I'll just try and produce content and then adjust whether the copy or the image for the different platform. For Instagram, my audience there is generally a little bit younger, so maybe 20s, 30s, tends to be more of a female audience that are interested in fat loss or much more interested in the gym. So I'll tailor my content for that, and then I'll share it as a quick win direct to Facebook. And then for LinkedIn, more busy professionals, obviously, and the sort of people that are active on LinkedIn are very busy, very stressed. So I'll try and share kind of my own story and story-based content on there to make it more relevant for that particular audience.
Yeah, and I think it was an interesting point you picked up about the fact that you're keeping an eye on the different types of client on different platforms, and are kind of just doing those minor tweaks to kind of make it more appealing to each of those different client bases and platforms for that reason. Um, do you find you get more leads from one platform than another, or is it kind of pretty much a good mix across the board?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I get it's easier to make a connection on LinkedIn and build your audience,
Mhm.
um, but it's easier to start a conversation on Instagram. So there's kind of parallels there, and you know, LinkedIn. A lot of the time, these people are working, right? So they don't necessarily have the time to start a conversation, or if you do, it can take place over a kind of period of days. Whereas Instagram, often people are, they're scrolling on their phone much more of the time, so they're a lot more responsive. So for us, getting people into that conversation is absolutely crucial, and being able to have a conversation where you can elicit some emotion, which normally has to be quite a quick backwards and forwards, is absolutely integral to moving them onto a call. So we really find Instagram is the best place for us to do that.
Right. Okay. And that's normally your aim from the conversations. Try and get them onto a call so you can then start chatting to them more
Yeah. Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, 100%. And there's two reasons for that. One is because we provide a really tailored solution. So it's not a one size fits all. It's really about, what solution do you need? So we need a bit more context on a call to find out what is going to be the best solution. And two, it is a really emotionally triggering kind of subject to talk about, body confidence and health, something that people have been procrastinating on for a long time. Um, and often if you just kind of have that conversation through the DMs, they'll kind of go, "Oh, I'll think about it," and then old habits creep back in, and maybe you never hear from them again. So you have to kind of get into a deeper conversation with them, face to face, and really get them to a place where they're ready to take action.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. So it's interesting that you've got an aim and a strategy with what you're doing with your content as well, which is to really sort of generate that interest and then actually get people to the point where they're having a conversation and then you get them onto the phone. I think that's again really good because a lot of people don't think that deeply about what they're trying to do with their content. So I think
Yeah.
that's quite
We use yeah, all of our content is about creating connection with our audience and creating a way of having a conversation. So we'll use a lot of lead magnets, which is different free guides that we can offer out and say, hey, are you interested in a nutrition guide, or are you interested in a free workout guide? And people will put their hands up and say, yes, yeah, I'm interested in that. Then that allows us to kind of send that out to them and start that conversation. Whereas if you kind of just say, hey, I've got a new program launching, who's interested? You're unlikely to get anyone to respond to you. So you know, like softly, start those conversations by giving them some value. Once you've got their trust, they're much more likely to then, fit into your program later on.
Yeah. And when somebody says they're interested in one of your documents, one of your lead magnets, do you just send them as a message on the platform? Do you switch them over to an email kind of sequence, or what's
Mm.
your strategy there?
Yeah, great question. So my strategy there has changed. I used to point them towards a funnel where they'd enter their name and their email address. They'd automatically download the free resource, and then they'd come onto my email list. Um, Now, what I've personally found is it can be a challenge to get someone out of your email list into a conversation. And effectively, you have to kind of do the same strategy of offering them something free to then get onto a conversation. So you're kind of wasting time, right? You want to get someone straight into a conversation. So my strategy now is, comment on this post and I'll send it straight over to you in your DM. So straight away, I'm in the DM. I'll send them a link with to the drive where the resource is, and then I can say, hey, here it is. Let me know how you find it, and I can follow back up. And I'm in that conversation, which is kind of the second step of the process.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's really good that again you've switched strategies because it's so easy. Everyone kind of just falls into get them on a landing page, get their email, and then just, as you say, just get them into that email list. But I love the fact that you're always aiming to find that way to get that personal conversation going, which I think is really
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely merit to growing your list too, because not everyone's going to be ready. But if you can kill two birds with one stone, often when I'm in that conversation, I'll ask for their email too, so that I can send them the free resource.
Yeah.
So I collect their email as well, because that is another a great source of marketing. But yeah, I'm already in that conversation, and I can follow up any other time. And once you've created that conversation, they're much more likely to reach out to you in the future because you're not so scary. If you've never interacted with someone before, it's quite scary to just send a message to a random person online. So it's like that olive branch to open up a future conversation.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get what you mean. Um, and we talked about content strategy earlier, so I think we'll sort of jump back to that because I was just thinking about this, like the mix of content that you produce. Because you've got a really good mix. You've got some great carousels that I really liked. Very nice, sort of strong brand to them as well as the message. And reels, but also you do a lot of good proof and credibility type posts with some of them are written tests, but you've got a lot of before and after images, which yeah, I'm jealous of. I must admit, I was looking. I'm definitely in the. I'm in the worst shaped before image at the moment, so I think that's really good. But it's you're in a business where you can genuinely prove the worth of the outcome with a good before and after picture, can't you?
Yeah, and it is the most important content. Without the proof there, where's the trust? If you
Yeah,
come across a coach's page that they're saying great things, but there's no evidence that it's actually worked, then it's really unlikely they're gonna make sales. So often when we start out in this industry as coaches, we'll go and find people and train them for free just to get that before and after result because
yeah,
it's absolutely crucial. Um, and you're being compared all the time to other people. It's a really competitive market, particularly online. Tons of other online coaches. People are going to shop around, see who's got the best results. So it's absolutely key to kind of on your shop front have those results visible so people know that they can actually get that result.
yeah, yeah. No, that's really good. And as I said to you before we started recording, as I was looking through your content, some of your reels are really good. And one of the questions I asked you, and I'm going to ask you again to explain why, is I thought actually they work really, really well on TikTok because you've got instant hooks. They're very compelling videos. Um, but you're not on TikTok, so I think that'd be just interesting to explain why, because I think you've got a really good sensible reason for it.
Yeah. So TikTok's obviously, a great platform, huge audience on there. But really, my mentality is about not spreading myself too thin, and it's much better for me to show up and be consistent on one or two platforms than being inconsistent, across three or four. And that is a mistake I see a lot of people doing is I have to be everywhere, right? Because the eyes are going to be on me. But it's much more about consistency and those people seeing you on that platform. And then for me, the other reason for TikTok, again, it comes down to getting into conversations, and it's easier Instagram to get people into a conversation. So um, a good strategy for TikTok is to try and grow your audience, but see how you can move them on to other platforms where you're much more likely to have that engagement. Some social platforms are just easier to start that conversation.
Yeah, yeah, and I think again, it's good that you're really sort of thinking about what platforms work with your process, and the fact that you worked it out really well. Um, and so I think that kind of leads quite nicely into the other aspect of your business. Obviously, we've spoken a lot about how you personally use digital marketing. So perhaps you kind of explain a bit about how you help coaches switch from being coaches in a gym to being coaches online. Because again, you shared some really interesting insights when we were chatting.
Yeah. And so it's a journey I've been on myself, right? I started a long time ago as a coach in the gym, and as a successful uh, in-person PTs, it's a bit of a curse because you end up working all hours of the day. People really only want to see you first thing in the morning, last thing at night, and on the weekends. So it turns into an incredibly unsocial job. That's why lots of people leave the industry. All of the successful in-person PTs that I used to work with have all changed industry because it wasn't sustainable. So now online coaching has come around. It provides that opportunity for coaches to have more flexibility, more time, and more freedom. So lots of people are trying to transition online, but delivering your service online is not something that's taught to you in kind of PT school. And the sales and marketing definitely isn't taught to you. So I've had to learn it as I've gone on my own journey over the past few years. So now I'm enjoying helping other coaches make the same transition, either from moving completely in person to online or kind of a hybrid, or just helping people that are already online that are kind of struggling with strategies of how to pick up clients and run a successful online business.
Yeah, no, I think I really get what you're saying, and it's interesting you said before we were chatting about the mentality of in a gym as a coach, you have to kind of be happy to walk up to somebody who's doing an exercise to help them and find out their feedback. And it's a very simple, you got to switch that mentality to doing something similar online.
Yeah, and I used to manage a gym and I used to manage a team of personal trainers, and the difference between a successful personal trainer and an unsuccessful personal trainer was the amount of conversations they got onto. Some people were happy and confident to walk up and start those conversations. Other people were kind of scared. It's exactly the same online. If you are not prepared to have those conversations, then you're not gonna, create enough engagement and enough future leads for you to, have sales and a successful business. And yeah, I like to frame it as when you're on Instagram, that's your digital gym, right? You're walking around your digital gym and there's someone over there on the rower and you go up and you start that conversation with them.
Yeah, no, I love that. Do you know what? I like digital gyms. I like the sound of that. It's my sort of gym. But I do know exactly what you mean. And it's having that right mentality, isn't it? And do you find, do you have to help sort of coach them through that change of mentality?
Yeah, I mean, mindset is the number one reason for success, whether that's in fitness or in business. Um, and there's lots of different mindset barriers that you have to overcome. The first one that people have when they just create their account is they don't want to show their face, right? Or they don't want to get on camera because there's this incredible fear of putting yourself out there and kind of fear of rejection. And then once you've got past that, it's then the fear of actually reaching out and starting conversations because you don't want to feel like that salesy person that's just spamming people's inboxes.
Yeah.
So there's lots of mindset barriers that you have to overcome to be a success online.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's so true. So very, very true. And it, yeah, and it's weird how they manifest. So, for instance, I'm happy here chatting, doing a podcast and recording it on Zoom, but I struggle to do reels where I've got to sit in front of a phone like that, and it just I don't know why. Just turn the thing over, and it just kind of it's in a different. I'm in a different gym, I suppose, and I'm using a different piece of kit, and I've just got to get used to. Still got to get used to that. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
it's it, anything new and the unfamiliarity is scary. And I was exactly the same. I couldn't even talk to the camera by myself, walking. I used to try and walk down the street and film a recording, not even live or anything, but I couldn't get the words out. Like
yeah,
it was just practice, repetition, keep showing up, posting that first scary reel, waiting for everyone to comment and be like, "Oh my God, Rich, that's so great! I can't believe you've done that!" Like, and then realizing that no one cared. It's just like, well, actually, no one cares. So why am I even worried about that? And you just have to keep moving forward, and then over time it becomes easier and more comfortable.
yeah, yeah. Did you set yourself any goals? Obviously, as a personal trainer, I presume you set yourself goals on the physical side of things. Did you set yourself a goal to try and help get yourself over that?
Yeah, I guess so. And one of the strategies that I use um, is journaling. On these sorts of things. Like if I'm struggling with something, I'll sit there and I'll write down 10 reasons. or 10 things that will happen if I do this, and 10 things that will happen if I don't do this. If I don't post this reel, I'm never going to grow my business. I'm going to be stuck broke. I'm going to have to resort to something else. If I do this, then I'm going to end up, people seeing me as an authority, growing my following. So self-reflection is definitely a big tool that I use to try and overcome some of those barriers that I experience.
Well, that's a great tip as well, and it does make a lot of sense. And now something I'm going to have to go and put into practice because
Yeah,
you're not the only guest who I've admitted that thing about the reels. So it's my hang up that I've got to get over. So between you and another guest that I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, I've definitely got to go and put those things into practice.
and it's
I'm conscious.
and it's the sorry to interject, Rob, but
No, 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 no.
it's the accountability that drives results.
Yeah,
Now you've said this live on the podcast, you're going to have to do it, right? Because people are going to go and check.
yeah.
But across any business, especially in fitness as well, is all the plans are out there, but it's having someone accountable to, which actually gets you to do the uncomfortable stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and do you know what? I've just realised we've been talking about gyms and all that kind of stuff, and we've not mentioned the O word, the Olympics. But yeah, you think we should have done really, as they've just finished, because again, I don't know if you, I was just thinking back on your content, you haven't really sort of made any sort of attempts, if you want, if that's the right word, to link it back to the Olympics. But it's a big thing about how to get that sort of doing the uncomfortable stuff to win the trophy at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I know that was a bit of a slight curveball. I don't know where that came from. Sorry, that's me. But yeah, excuse me. I must admit, I've really enjoyed it, and you've shared so much really good information today that I've really, really enjoyed it. Lots of things to take away. As I always say to all of my guests, though, I do ask for two tips specifically to share with our viewers and listeners. And the first is that this is something that you really ought to be doing because it works for you. So the good tip, and then the tip to avoid. So first off, if you'd like to share, are you happy to share a tip that's a good tip that we should all be doing?
Yeah, I definitely think you should be setting yourself some daily KPIs, key performance indicators or metrics in terms of the essentials that you need to do to drive your business forward. And for me, that might be posting one piece of content per day, following 10 new accounts and trying to start 5 new conversations. Might take 15 minutes, but if I do those every single day for the next year, all of that is going to compound into a lot of leads and a lot of clients. People can sometimes do they'll go through a hyper moment where they'll spend a day, creating content and being really engaging, but for the other 6 days, they're not consistent. So having some daily metrics that you kind of tick off each day would be my number one tip.
Perfect, excellent, and that's a really good tip. And also, as you're saying, the consistency it is so important as well. And how about your oh, don't do this, it's a really bad idea tip.
Yeah, don't try and sell your service too early. You have to warm people up. If you go straight in, it's like needy is creepy, and if you try and ask the girl out too soon, it's going to turn them off. Right? You need to spend time getting to know your prospect, getting to understand them before they're ever going to think about buying your product. So a lot of people will go straight in with, hey, my name's Richard, I'm a coach. Are you interested in getting fit? And, I know from experience, it's not going to get any results. So don't spam people. Don't try and sell too early. And my ethos is really about how can I help people?
Yeah.
I don't want to sell to people. How can I help people? And trying to find the best ways to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really good as well. And yeah, it just took me off to something else, and I was just thinking, oh yeah, um, it's completely unrelated, but that's a really good tip, even for something that I'm trying to do at the moment. So I do appreciate that. Um, and then finally, obviously, what we will share all your links as part of the show notes and stuff like that. But if somebody wants to get in contact with you, what is the best way for them to find you, and what's the best platform for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn and Instagram I'm active on every day. So yeah, find the links in the show notes. If you want to send me an email directly, it's info@cc-coaching.online.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, hopefully we'll have a few people reaching out to you because, like I said, you shared such a wealth of information, and it's really interesting that you've got such a good strategy. You've really got things kind of smoothed out about what you're doing on digital marketing. So that's great. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for your time today and spending time with me and sharing those tips with our viewers and listeners, because it's been really good.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rob. I've really enjoyed the conversation too.
Pleasure. Brilliant. Thank you.